like Taylor Swift. All right, so how many people are tired? You've been thrown a lot of information. How many of you have flown in for this event? Okay, how many of you have brought your family with you or your work colleagues? Few of you. So you've actually gone away from your home, away from your business to actually come here, not because you want to meet Mickey Mouse, but you want to get smarter. You want that unfair advantage. Would that be correct? Right, so the last thing you want is some kind of bullshit woo-woo motivation to make you go, oh yeah, you can do it. Let's give you some simple basics that you can take home, give you all the tips, tricks, and hacks that you need to stand out. Would that be wise? All right, we're going to do that then for you. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go back in time. We're going to go back in time to about 2014. And I was working in Rome, and I'm in the garden of the Hotel de Russi, and I get this phone call from a client, and he says, hey, I know you're in Italy. I need something organized in Florence. I said, what do you need? And this is on a Sunday. He said, Wednesday night, I'm coming over. I've got my fiance, her mother and father. I want to have an amazing dining experience. Can you sort something out? I went, sure. I'm not doing anything for a few days. I'll bundle on down there. So Monday morning, I shoot down to Florence to make this happen. How many of you have ever been to Florence, Italy? Right, good. So there's some hands up there. So you'll recognize these kind of things. It's not a very, very big town. But one of the first things you'll notice about Florence is this cobblestone. And there's not a lot of cars that actually travel around in the city itself. So 9 o'clock, Wednesday night comes around, and a white horse-drawn carriage pulls outside the Savoy Hotel in the Republic Square, the main square of Florence. My client gets out, his fiancée, future mother and father-in-law, and there's always a hanger-on. So this floater comes along, and she jumps into the horse-drawn carriage as well, and it takes off. Starts trotting down the cobbled streets, goes over the Vecchio, the bridge, past the Palazzo, past the Uffizi. It just goes strolling around past the Diamo, up the side, and all of a sudden my client screams, stop! And the horse-drawn carriage comes to a stop. No one knows what's going on. And he jumps out of the carriage, and he runs up to these big wooden doors. He goes bang, 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 starts hitting the shit out of these doors. Now, it's 9 o'clock at night in Florence. You don't go to Florence to party hard. So like 9 o'clock, everyone's on their espresso and they're heading home real soon. And we're in a small street, cobbled stones, and he's banging on this thing. This damn thing is echoing. And he's not a small fella. He carries on, bang, 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 hitting on this door. The fiancé says, hey, calm it down. You know, you're going to wake people up. He says, no, you don't understand. These are the doors to the Accademia di Galleria, the museum that houses Michelangelo's David. We go home tomorrow. If I can bang on the door loud enough, security will open it. I'll give him a couple of grand and we'll get to go and see David before we go home the following day. Turns back around the doors, bang, bang, bang. Mother-in-law and father-in-law thinking, we've got a psychopath coming into the family. All of a sudden, the doors crack. And then they open up wide. This is not the main tourist entrance, it's the two big wooden doors next to it. Very rarely do they get opened. Massive doors open up, big red carpet leads all the way down to the feet of David. Rosebuds on it, string quartet playing around. And at the feet of David is a table of 6 set up, because we knew we'd have some guests. They always turn up when cool things are happening. And there was a table there. And everyone in this horse-drawn carriage got to see it. And they were able to have dinner at the feet of Michelangelo's David, because I was challenged with giving the most amazing dining experience in Florence. Can you imagine what that looks like? Pretty cool. We don't have to. As they say, if there's no photographs, it didn't happen. Look like this. Now, you're in a museum. We had a string quartet, but museums are very, very, very quiet. So the string quartet was nice, but we needed an entertainer. So I got Andrea Bocelli to serenade him while he's eating his pasta main course. That's the kind of stuff that I got up to for just under 30 years. I've worked with amazing people all over the world, doing amazing things. And I mentioned that I was in the Hotel Russi in Rome. That's because I had a client that was actually getting married here by this fella. That's what I did. But I want to go back to this, because this night was pivotal to me. Because when I'd gone down there on the Monday, I knew people, and I had some really powerful connections. You know, they always say you are the room you hang out in. And I knew powerful people, and I'd managed to get permission to be able to have this dinner party at the feet of David by shutting down the entire museum. And when the powers to be turned around and allowed this to happen, they gave me the curator and they said, look, make sure Sims has everything he needs. I shook his hands, I left, I said, I'll come back to you this afternoon. So I came back to him that afternoon, and we had to work quick. We only had 2 days to get this thing organized. So over the course of the 2 days, I turned up at the museum and I said, hey, we've got this amazing chef. But of course, he's got a load. Now, you can't cook in the museum, so we're going to cook in the courtyard and just quickly transfer it in. So we need to get the cooking utensils and everything needs to be brought in. We're thinking 6 o'clock. Is that okay? The guy looks at me and he went, should be okay. That was it. I let that one go. And then I said to him, oh, by the way, we're going to have a string quartet come over, so they're going to need to get set up. Of course, they've got some instruments, but they're all going to bundle in here. So we're thinking about like 6:30. Is that right? You know, we can have them come in at 6:30. He's like, I'll see what I can do. This is twice now. Following day, I made a few phone calls, was very, very fortunate to connect with Veronica Bocelli, Andrea's wife, and she agreed. I don't know why, still don't know why to this day, nor does she. She agreed to lend us her husband to serenade my clients while they're eating their pasta. So he said, look, I need to get over there. I've got to be back for the kids, but I'll come over there. I'm going to be over there like 7:30, 8 o'clock so we can get warmed up. And by the way, I'll want a piano there. So I had to get a piano brought over as well. So I said to the curator, I need to get a piano through the front door. And then I need Andrea to turn up. Now, if you're in Italy, you got Andrea Bocelli and you got the Pope, you just get mobbed wherever they are. So we needed to make sure the van would turn up, the door would open up, Andrea would get straight into the museum and it was shut and we wouldn't have any problems. So I said, we're going to need to make sure security's ready. We've got a piano coming over. We're going to have that dropped off at around about 6:45. Andrea's going to come in about 7:30 once the piano's ready. Is that okay? Should be okay. Now, I apologize about my Italian accent. It's not that good, but that's what you get. And he was giving me this attitude, and I really didn't understand why. So come Wednesday night, we had the piano in place, we had the string quartet who were amazed that they were going to be back up for Andrea Bocelli, the chef's getting everything. We had that table being decorated. It was absolutely fantastic. Anyone here play a piano or have anyone that plays piano in their family? Got a couple of people got their hands up. You know full well these things are a bugger to tune once you move them. And so what would happen was you're in a marble factory, you're in a bloody museum with tons, literally tons of marble. That piano is not set up for great acoustics in a museum. So they would literally play a few tunes, pick it up, move it over 3 feet, do it again, tune it. No, it's not very good here. Pick it up, move it over again, tune it, do it again. And this piano was dancing around the room trying to find the best place to give the least reverb and the best acoustics in this museum. And I was chatting with Veronica, I was chatting with Andrea, and he had to go over and do some other stuff. It was actually his son that was playing on the piano. So they went over, and over to the right of me was the curator. Now the curator is maybe about 135, 140 pounds if he's wet. Immaculately turned out, typical Italian waistcoat, jacket, little pocket square, little quiff, gorgeous little fella. And I have to let you know of one thing. If you haven't picked up on it yet, I'm a Londoner. I'm also a little bit of an immature prick. And I hold on to things. And this guy pissed me off. Now, I didn't expect him to bounce. I didn't expect him to go, oh, absolutely, say anything you want. But I didn't expect, with the people that had said yes to me and the caliber of thing that I was doing, for him to go, I'll see what I can do. I didn't expect that. So he needed a little bit of tearing down. Again, told you I'm immature. So I looked over and I went, hey, Luigi, come here a minute. His name wasn't Luigi. So he comes up next to me, literally, short little fella. I said, look at that table. If you were going to have an Italian meal, can it get any better than that? He's like, no, it is fantastic, it is amazing, it is beautiful. I said, but look at the view that you're going to have from your table. It's David. Can you get any better view than David in Italy if you're eating Italian food? It's like, no, it's a dream. It is just magical. It is wonderful. And I said, and hang on a minute. Not only is this happening, but when you get to your meatballs, Andrea Bocelli's going to serenade you. Please tell me it can't get any better. He's like, it is unbelievable. It is a dream. It is fantastic. So I said, well, here you go, Luigi. Name's still not Luigi. How come I pulled it off? Now, this was where I was expecting to hear him say something like, no one's as good looking as you, no one's as smooth as you, no one's as... Any of those things would have pounded in my ego and I'd have been absolutely fine. But he stood there with his crossed arms, he looked up at me, and he went, no one's ever asked. And literally I just went, fuck. Literally folded over. And as I rose, this little fella had this massive, great smile on his face because he knew he'd won. Now, I've never given his real name out because he became a dear friend. We went out that night. I went to his wedding earlier last year. So, we've ended up remaining really, really tight friends. And he actually introduces people to me that he's Luigi in the book because I actually included him in a chapter of this book. But it got me thinking, why did I get it? Yes, I asked, but can't be that easy, can it? Now, I had to go back. I live in California, so I had to fly back to California. On the flight home, I was literally just going through my phone, and I was making a note of all of the really cool things that I'd got up to, and all of the people that had helped orchestrate it and pull it off. Piano with Elton John, hanging out with the rock band Journey, walk-on roles on major movies, front row seats at fashion shows, all these amazing things that over 25 years had got me the moniker of the real-life Wizard of Oz by Forbes and Entrepreneur magazine. And I spent the next 6 months contacting every single one of those people, going, hey, we haven't chatted for ages. I was going through some photographs and I saw this with Tom Cruise and I saw this over here where, something just popped into my, how the hell did we pull this off? And I made about 60 phone calls and there wasn't a variation on the response. Every single one of them just said, you asked. Absolutely every single one of them. So this is what I want you to do. You've taken time and your credit card to be here to get smarter, to get that unfair advantage. I want you over the next week to ask what you can do with that information. What you can do with your relationships, what you can do with your workforce, what you can do with your branding, with your marketing. I want you to ask what you can do with yourself. And I want you to then ask more of it. It's not a hard thing. But how many times have you gone, but I couldn't do that? Freaking hell do you know? You didn't ask. Now, I'm going to run through about 45 minutes with you with tactics, tips on how to market, brand, and get the clients you really, really want, not the ones you're getting. Now, that's going to be great information, but here's the sad news. You're only going to be able to retain about 20% of what I've said. Partly because it's going to come at you thick and fast, and the other half because you can't understand a fucking word I'm saying. So I'm going to make it easy for you. If you literally just scan this, you're not going to get adverts for my hair products or diet pills. You're just going to get this PDF and that's it. Okay, so I'm hopefully going to be able to nudge you that as you're going through this, you go, that's what he meant, I'm going to do it. Is that fair enough? All right. Bear in mind, this is for you. I've been paid. I want you to benefit from this. So we're going to run through some basics here. And the first thing we're going to focus on, and we're going to focus on in 3 chapters, we're going to focus on how to brand. Let's ask you the first question. What is branding? It changes. And it started off as this. Cattle being branded. And that a habit still goes through to leather manufacturers now. You go to any kind of good leather, even the handbags inside, what is it? It's got the little brand in there. That's how it started, but it's not how it is. And what I'm going to tell you what it is what it is today. But it's an ocean, and it will change over time. But let me tell you, firstly, what it's not. It is not a logo. It is not an identity. It is not a product. That's not what a brand is. So what is a brand? It's an emotive trigger. Does anyone here not agree with me? Let's put it to the test. Apple, Tesla, Harley Davidson. No logos, no pictures, literally just spoke the name, and something happened in your psyche with every single one of those brands. Apple, well, I'm all about a new future. I'm all about, being trendy and creative, and I want to be cool like Steve Jobs, and I feel as though I'm snobbier than those people that buy Androids. That's why I buy Apple. Tesla, I believe in everything Elon Musk does, and I want a carbon neutral footprint. That's why I drive around in Teslas. Harley Davidson, I want to look tough and date strippers. Now you think it's funny, but those images were in your head when those names came out, weren't they? So what's a brand really look like? Now I've heard a few people up here, I've been popping in throughout the day, I've been sitting back there and listening to a few of you. I was actually speaking to a gentleman out there that before he came up on the panel, and I've got to admit, it's been a great day, and people have missed out on this, and they should be kicking themselves for not turning up for this. Because you've been getting some stuff. But I was speaking with a gentleman down there, and he's like, it's not really my thing, I'm not really a speaker and stuff like that. So this question may seem a little bit stupid, but I'm going to ask it. Who here is a professional speaker, a paid speaker? Put your hands up if you're a professional paid speaker. Okay, let me rephrase that question. How long would you be in business if you could no longer talk? You could no longer communicate? A month? A couple of weeks? You see, when you're talking to a member of your team to encourage them to go somewhere, there's a financial benefit. You've motivated them to do something. When you're actually dealing with your marketing, when you're dealing with a campaign, when you're dealing with a client, the end goal is to get them to engage with you. I go up to tech companies, and there's a whole bunch of nerds around there, dressing up code and stuff like this. Oh, we're not speakers. If you can't explain what your code solves to somebody else, then you're out of business. And in today's world of AI, and what Brian was saying earlier, and it's funny that they're called this, the soft skills of recognizing and communicating are what's going to make us stand out. And my wife finds it hilarious that a former bouncer from East London riding around on a motorbike literally travels the planet, charging companies lots of money to teach them about the art of communication. But in a world where we're getting bad at it, I'm starting to stand out. And it's weird. So I want you to think about it. How important is your ability to communicate with someone relevant and reactive to your bank account. And when you start putting it like that, we're all professional speakers, aren't we? So let's look at this. There's 2 rules of speaking, okay? Does anyone know what the first golden rule of being a speaker is? And it's in any business, any room you go into. What's the first rule? Know your audience. Exactly, okay? A friend of mine is a comedian in Los Angeles, and he's shit. So he never gets the good gigs. And he's always what we call the fluffer that kind of like comes in at the beginning and tries to warm the audience up. And sometimes he gets it right, sometimes he gets it bad. But when you're in that situation, you don't know who you're going to follow. So the person that comes on may come out with some jokes that are really, really shit. Look at the Puerto Rican jokes we saw at the Trump conference. I would not want to have followed that. But you don't know what you're following. And when you're talking to the client, you don't know what happened that morning. They reversed out to get the kids to school on time and they run over the cat. Or she scraped the car. Or he lost his job, he got demoted and now he's got less hours. You have no idea. So my comedian fella said to me, yeah, know your audience, that's important. But more important than knowing the audience is know that temperature. Now you think about it, we just went through COVID, didn't we? And we went through a period of time where we invented things like fake news. And we got very aggressive, didn't we? We started off all kind of like sitting out on our balconies and clapping at 5 o'clock each night and giving up, but we soon started getting into marches and hatred and started to feast on ourselves. And everyone was saying, oh, COVID's horrible, I can't get out with my mates, I can't go to the gym. When that fat ass wasn't going to the gym before COVID. It became a period of excuses, didn't it? So you've got to know what the room's going through. And you can do that by asking questions, understanding some of the tips and tricks that you were given this morning by Brian, and getting that advantage by first of all being aware, well, yeah, I know my client needs this, but what mood is he in? And that's how you're going to get him. Now, here's a funny thing. We've all got these things. You know, I guarantee you no one's further than 3 feet away from it now. And the bloody thing does this all the sodding time. And the amount of information that is constantly being thrown at us. And what do they say? We got all this information. Too much information equals no information. So we've got to get through that. Does anyone here know what the big C is? Sadly, if you know what it is, you're probably going to say the word cancer. Because the big C is often referred to as that. And it can kill people. And it's devastating. And it doesn't go away with a couple of tablets. In business, we also have a big C. It's not called cancer. It's called confusion. Do you know who's breeding it? Do you know who's perpetuating it? Do you know who's putting it all over the website? 9 times out of 10, you. Because you think this is what the client needs. You think that's what the market needs. And you act. I'm going to give you a basic test, and here's a lovely little test for you to do. Again, you're going to get this PDF, so you're going to be able to do this afterwards. This is not a test that you can do on your mobile phone. You need to get a laptop or a desktop to do this. You need to open up multiple browser windows. And then on every single one of those browser windows, you open up your social pages. You know, you've got your Facebook and your LinkedIn and your Twitter and your Tinder. Oh, how did I get Tinder on there? Sorry about that. And you get all of these pages up there to ask yourself, is my company and me the same person on every single platform? How many times do you look someone up not on the websites, but on social? Put your hands up if you do that. Yeah. You're going out for dinner on Saturday night with Susie, and Susie phones up and she's like, I've got Mary in town. Do you mind if she joins us for dinner? And you go, absolutely no problem. And you jump on Facebook. Who the fuck's Mary? You check her out before you get there. You know, we all say we don't. And there was all this big HR thing about you're not allowed to look at people's socials. Screw that, you know you do. So what you've got to do is you've got to make sure that on every single social page, you carry the continuity of who you are. Now, a lot of people, who here, well, let me ask you this question for a start. Who here hates social? Yeah, because it's kind of not social, is it? You know, it's marketing and branding, but it's also bloody free. And as we've already identified, it's where you go. It's funny, we go to the platforms that we can openly lie on and no one will ever stop us. I could go onto my Facebook page tonight and say that I'm 7'11" and green. How long do you think it'd be before Facebook asked me to take that down? They wouldn't. But we trust the social pages. And a lot of people turn around and go, well, they're different. You've got to appeal to the TikTok community on TikTok. And on LinkedIn, you've got to do this. And on Facebook, you do this. Do you know who doesn't do that? Ford, Nike, Apple, Tesla, any of those brands that have a consistent branding tone and message. Yet I guarantee you there's people in here, when you open up all of your social browsers, you'll go onto LinkedIn, and there's a picture of you leaning up a bunch of books that you're never going to read, or leaning up a car that you borrowed. And then you go over to Facebook and you're in a hot tub with a Mai Tai and it's Girls Gone Wild. Because you think, oh, I can be that character on Facebook, but on LinkedIn, I've got to be professional. Did anyone here ever get rules and regulations books sent to them when they set up their LinkedIn account? No. But we've all got these kind of myths, haven't we? But again, anyone that you admire, anyone that you follow, any brand that has caught your attention, commitment, and loyalty, and you've bought into that culture, is consistent. And there's a fantastic phrase that I learned many years ago. There is a huge difference on being easy to understand and impossible to misunderstand. Now that's how to get your message out consistently. Everywhere you see me, I'm in a black t-shirt. That's the reason. Last night I was bloody freezing out there for some reason. Come to Florida, I thought I'd be all nice and lovely, and I came with Bermuda shorts on, freezing me nuts off out there. But I couldn't show up on this stage with a hoodie on because I never go on stage with a hoodie. I'm always in a black t-shirt wherever I go. Consistent, brand consistency. So you've got to focus on your brand for one. Whatever your statement is, carry it all the way through. Whatever you say you do, follow up and expose it. Talk about it. Now you know what making a brand is about. We just identified what that is. The next question is, where's your clients? Now there's some nerds in here and I know you like stats and stuff like that, so I've got a few little stats for you. This is the media consumption by platform in 2011. Look at one of the smallest. Your mobile phone, 2011. Really not that long ago. I know a lot of you in here have got socks older than Google. So it wasn't that long ago. Now let's take it a little bit further forward. Now we look at it. Mobile's quite good now, isn't it? Now look at the suggested for 2025. Now get this. Media consumption on the smallest screen you own. Most of you have got LCD screens in your car that are larger than a phone, especially if you've got a Tesla. But TV, radio, and all these things, they're larger screens, but where do we consume it? How many of us have got kids? How many of you like them? Yeah, exactly. Do you remember when they would go to college and you'd buy them a TV, wouldn't you? Now, they stream on their phones or on their laptops. And they're constantly on their bloody phones. Look at the vulnerable sources of media there. The mobile can play the radio, can look up your emails and it can play the TV. But the TV can't look at your emails. So those are getting vulnerable, and sooner or later they'll be gone. And it's getting bigger. We haven't even got an iPhone with everyone in the planet yet, or a smartphone, should I say. We just don't have it. We're still growing. Still a lot of the planet without it. So if you know that by these facts, 99% of the planet are looking at you on the smallest screen they own, have you checked out what you look like? Seriously. How many of us here would pass the toilet test? This is that moment when someone goes, oh, you know Billy? And they go, yeah, I've heard of Billy. Yeah, he sounds like a nice guy. And then you're in line outside waiting for your Uber, or you go to the toilet and you get the phone out, and what do you do? You Google Billy, don't you? How many times do you see people, it's the coffee shuffle. They go to Starbucks, they order their coffee, they step aside. My God, they could dare to be alone and quiet for 3 seconds. They get that phone out and they're Googling something. Are they Googling you? I know it sounds egotistical, but how many people here Google themselves? Couple of people. All right, you don't want to be that kind of I'm Christ's sake, I'm not going to Google myself. Why the fuck not? And I mean that as determined as I absolutely can. Google has an algorithm. You should also, Yahoo, Bing, Bing, Duck, Duck, you should search every single browser you can and pop your name in there. And there's another one now that you should be doing it on, ChatGPT. I teach my students to do a brand audit every 3 months. Search your company, search you. If you've got some key personnel, search them just to see what pops up. Now, I'm a damn good speaker, believe it or not, and I'm a decent coach, and I get a lot of coaching clients that I work with. So ChatGPT came across, and I'm like, well, I do all of the Googles and the Yahoos and all those kind of things. I'm going to ChatGPT myself. So I went in there. Is Steve Sims a good coach? Okay? Don't you want to see what people are finding out about you? It's not egotistical, it's intelligence. Get into the narrative, get into the conversation, see what they're seeing. So I went in there, ChatGPT, is Steve Sims a good coach? And it comes back in milliseconds with all the information that Steve Sims is an award-winning, highly recognized coach in America. I don't know what awards I've won, but okay, I'll take that. His structure and plays have often been copycatted. Okay, what plays did I do? I'm not quite sure. Before he served his 15-month sentence for assault. What the frickin' hell's going on here? Turns out Steve Sims was a hockey coach that when one of the players didn't do his play, he beat the shit out of him with a stick. But if you had searched him up and not read all of that, you'd have maybe got to the 15-month in prison and gone, whoa, maybe I don't want that guy. Because how many people have ever phoned you up going, excuse me, I was just on the internet and I saw your phone number, I just wanted to phone you. What is it you do? How many of you have ever received that phone call? Never. A confused person will never give you that credit card. Now, there's a lot of people out there that say, you need to keep your brand authentic. I don't believe in that. I think what you need to do is you need to keep your brand crystal clear. I don't care if you agree with me. I guarantee you in this room, I'm not going to ask you to put your hands up because I get very offended, but I guarantee you there's people in this room that go, I don't like this guy, he'll be off soon and we can go to the bar. I guarantee it. It's just numbers, isn't it? You ask 100 people, 30 are going to like you, 30 are going to hate you, and the rest are going to be on the fence. And I guarantee there's people in this room that go, my God, he's a breath of fresh air. He's saying everything that I've always thought of. Oh God, I'm going to follow him on Instagram and, OnlyFans. But I never deviate. Every event that I'm ever at, this is it. Harvard, Pentagon, whatever, I'm here. You want to try and curtail my language? Why? It's part of who I am. I don't try to be obscene or too rude, but this is the conversation I want to have. I don't want there to be any confusion. And as I openly have already said, no one confused will ever give you their credit card. Now, I said to you, we were going to have 3 chapters. And at the end of this, we got, people coming out, Miranda's coming out, and we're going to do a Q&A. So you're going to be able to ask questions, all right? But we've gone through 2 of them. What's a brand? And it's important to understand what is it today. A couple of years' time, it may be logos. In the past, it was logos. But now it's an emotive trigger, okay? Where my people see me, we've already identified. They see you on the smallest screen that you own. And that's going to end up probably being what most people see. So now we need to get to number 3. This is a big one. How do people see me? Now you lot look like a cultured bunch of people. Who painted this? Pollock? Nope. Me, yeah, my dog. Gerhard Richter painted this. Everyone heard of Gerhard Richter? No? Okay, there's a point to this, by the way. Not to just humiliate and take the piss out of you. Who painted this? Cecilia painted this. Who painted this canoe apart from a 4-year-old? Peter Doge. Did anyone know any of those artists? Who's this? Banksy. Doesn't even paint. Stencils. The first 3 that I gave you are the top 3 artists in the last 3 decades. The top 3 in the last 3 decades. Banksy's not even in the top 150. Just does not exist in it. You didn't know who the top 3 are, but you knew who Banksy was. Okay? We all know this beautiful lady. So, Gene Corman was paid by Warner Brothers $400 to take this famous picture for one of her upcoming movies. Okay? And then a gentleman by the name of Andy Warhol got hold of this picture, evoked artistic license, didn't change it, didn't paint it, screen printed it in different colors, and it sold for $195.4 million. How pissed do you think Gene was? Okay? These people had, there's a picture that's suddenly gone missing. All right, well, I'll still talk about it. Lady Gaga. How many here of you are fans of Lady Gaga? A few of you. Okay. How many of you think she is undoubtedly the greatest vocalist of our time today? No. She's won loads of awards for it. How many of you think that she is the greatest thespian, the greatest actor that we have on the planet today? No hands, but she's won Oscars. Why has she got the attention when, let's be blunt, you could go to a New York substation or any kind of corner and hear a busker that's maybe even singing better than her? Because she stood out and she got this. She got a following of people that wanted to connect with her. She got followers. And when you've got a good reputation and then you develop that into a brand, what comes next? A culture, a following. We had Dr. Phil talking about it this morning, about culture. You want people to be mass advocates for you. You want them to not look at anything else. And why? Because you want to be different. Now, when you're better than better, there is one argument it's always going to come down to. It's going to come down to the almighty dollar. And the second you start conversing with someone on money, you will lose because you failed to demonstrate the value. Does that make sense? And it's always the case, well, this guy said he'd do it for 20 grand. Hi, I'll do it for 19 grand. What's that person going to do? Not go, oh, great, I'll take the 19. Fuck that, he's going to phone the other one. Well, he said he was going to do it for 17. All right, I'll do it for 16. I'll be straight back. Hello? And you've got that conversation. Is that the client you want? No, it's not. But how many times have we ended up getting that client? I know I have. We're business owners. We're entrepreneurs. We don't learn things easily. We get a toxic client that screws us up, that makes us feel sick to our pit, that we end up not wanting to. We can't wait to get that project finished. And then we're like, we're never going to do that again. And then we fall into the same trap again. We learn things the hard way. You need to focus like Banksy, like Andy Warhol, like Lady Gaga. Different is better than better. When you are different, you're uncomparable. I heard a little funny story about realtors. I actually have spoken probably at every major realtor convention in the planet, every legal convention, every financial convention, every dental convention. And I stand here and I look out, and they're called stereotypes for a reason. Every dental convention, they all look the same. Every realtor convention, I'm trying to work out if they're real estate or soft porn. You know, there's a stereotype. And that's what it bloody looks like. But every now and then there's one that stands out. One that's a little bit different. One that grabbed your attention. And the first start of getting a relationship, longevity, referrals, business, a culture, is attention. And you will never get attention by first fitting in. Because let's be blunt, you've flown all the way down here to put up with this, to get that unfair advantage, to stand out. Is that correct? Who came here so they could fit in better? Anyone know what these are called? Sorry? Redwoods. This one's actually sequoia trees. But yeah, they're the same bloody thing basically. Big arse tree. These are massive. But they all start off like that. In fact, a lot smaller because that's actually been like blown up a lot. You know, they don't actually start off like a foot-long seed. But what happens to those things? I've actually done a conference before where I've given people out little packs of sequoia seeds. And I've gone, this is what's going to happen. You're going to stick them in your pocket, stick it in your bag, stick it on your desk, knock it over, drop it on the floor. Your cat's going to eat it. There's going to be a million ways that you are going to kill it. But if you go into your garden and find the soil that's going to best nurture that seed, you have a hope if you invest the time that it's going to graft and grow. And then it's going to break soil, and you've got to make sure your dog doesn't crap on it. So you've got to protect it again. You've got to prune it, and you've got to protect it until it gets to a position that is so bloody big and powerful, you can cut a hole in it for a bus to go through. That's what relationships are. They take time to build, time to get stronger when they get to a point where they are solid. But sadly, today we don't move on fact. We are incredibly fast to voice and very, very slow to listen. The court of public opinion is true, even when 9 times out of 10 it's wrong. So you can spend 10, 50 years, 20 years, 2 years investing in your brand. Someone puts something on the internet and it chops it all down in one day. That's why your brand audit is very important. I beg you, Google yourself before you go home. DuckDuckGo, Bing, Yahoo, all of these different things. Check out what the planet's seeing, because only then can you control that narrative. All right? And then it comes down to the final point. Your brand is your paycheck. It's your reputation. It builds your culture. It builds your community. What are people saying about you when you're no longer in the room?